So, I'm just going to show you this. I bought this pad of paper, construction paper, from the Salvation Army. It was 49 cents, the price on it. But there's only 19 sheets in there. And I bet you sometimes when I get things, I mean, the Salvation Army is really close and convenient for me, and I just go there. So, sometimes I'll go to the thrift stores and I don't even think of going to the dollar store. But I bet if I looked at the price of construction paper at the dollar store, it would have been cheaper per sheet. So what I did is I cut the black construction paper into strips, and then I glued each one together. And then what I'll do, see, that way I can make a head. So I could just use paper to work on the butterfly, making the head. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use pipe cleaners, because it's easier to make legs and antenna with pipe cleaners. So instead of just gluing the paper at the back together like this to make a head, I'm going to put a styrofoam ball inside, which will hold the pipe cleaner better. So I'm not making it entirely out of paper, but I mean, that's an option. If you want to make things like heads out of paper, you can do it like that. Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to talk about these things. I started listening to this audiobook down here, and it was awful. So I'm not going to listen to the rest of it. Now, the author...
Is it a work of fiction?
It's true crime accounting of...
okay.
Now, I don't know. It reads like it's nonfiction. They've used the... What do you call that?
Fiction,
is that
pseudonyms?
Omniscient sort of thing?
Omniscient narrator?
Yeah, where everybody, he did this, he did that. He saw this, he did that.
Yeah,
He. And it's really hard to listen to, honestly, when it's an audiobook. If you're reading it, that's fine. But what that does is it's very useful for nonfiction. And it makes it sound like nonfiction when you're hearing it or reading it. So even when fiction writers use that, you're thinking, oh, it's nonfiction. So I'm not exactly sure. I don't know, some real life names are mentioned in there that make me think, oh, okay. But then historical fictions will use real names, real settings, whatever. So I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. I don't know about this crime. And honestly, I have a hard time caring. I was listening to it. The writer had some poetic uses of describing things like red leaves with golden flecks in the morning, and the silvery veil over the grass of frost, right? So you're getting to know, oh, well, this is the time of year you're expecting it, given the place, if you know it, and you know when to expect frost and when to expect red leaves with golden flecks, then you know, right? So that is interesting, and I like that. I like how the author has used that rather than saying it's fall. But I got through the one CD. I was in the bath. Usually I listen to music in the bath, which that might have been my problem. If I was listening to this on a road trip, maybe it would have been fine.
Maybe we should listen to it.
Well, somebody has it on hold, so I gotta get it back soon.
There we go.
And I don't want to spend any more time on it while we're not on the road. So I'm not going to listen to the rest. I'm just going to return it.
There we go. See, you got through 20% of it. Looks like 5 CDs all told, or whatever.
10.
Oh my God!
So I did not make it very far.
Oh, well, 10% through it. Okay.
And had I been on a road trip, I would have went through the whole thing. But in the bath, all I'm doing is listening. So I did not enjoy that. This movie, what was it? Us, I think it was called.
Yep.
I didn't care for it. Did you?
Ooh.
That was the one with the twin people that were trying to kill everyone.
Yeah, it was a little...
I just didn't see a point.
There were too many twins. You go, what's going on? It was a little hard to follow. Looks as though the director or something like that won an Academy Award.
Well, the other movie that they did
was okay?
Good. Yeah.
We saw it before.
Yeah. But this one, It's
Yeah, it
just
didn't
not
quite
worth it.
work. Anyway, what the heck?
And I mean,
Wasn't that bad,
I'm
you know?
into zombie sort of horror
Mood.
movies, and this is a zombie sort of feel to it. I mean, you have these twins that are.
Oh, this hoser.
Okay, so
This
you
was
know
in New
about
York,
that.
right?
Yeah,
He was preppy, right?
yeah.
And
So
he,
you know about this.
Oh, it was horrible. I think we were in New York when it happened, right, John and I?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had fans. They were kind of like groupies, right?
No way.
And he had some sort of doll that he was. This was caught on camera, right? He was pretending it was the woman that he murdered, right? He was saying, of course, he didn't murder. Oh, no, I'm hurt. Something like that.
Yeah.
And these girls were laughing and stuff like that. It was awful. You can
Terrible.
see he's pretty good looking, and I think he was well off, maybe
Okay.
even rich.
So yes,
and
it is.
he's, you know,
a
he
real
had this
story.
nice hairstyle and probably,
Yeah.
you know, he probably wore penny loafers and chinos and all this sort of stuff, or whatever they're called. See,
So
80
maybe
80
James would have enjoyed it more than I
86.
did. I wasn't
Okay.
enjoying it. I was laying in the bath going, "Oh God, let it end."
Yeah, see, that was.
And I was thinking I should get out of the bath so that I could turn it off.
Yeah.
And then I'm supposed to be relaxing in the bath because that's what I
Yeah.
do. So,
So
it was
we
not
were
a good bath time.
we were in New York in '86
Okay.
when the U.S. Open happens, which is just a little bit before and maybe a little after our Labor Day, right?
Uh-huh.
Their Labor Day too. So you can see it's August night in '86. So I don't think it happened exactly when we were there, but there was the fallout, some of the fallout.
So what James is eating is a chili that I made last fall with black beans and corn. He likes corn and chili. And I put the larger half of the avocado, and it was a beautiful avocado on top of that. He likes that lately. Avocado on top of chili. So, and I'm eating a pseudo sort of Ichiban thing with the smaller half of the avocado. And what else? And the kimchi. Oh, and I made it with spiralized zucchini. So that I'd roasted in this casserole in the oven yesterday, and then stuck it in the fridge. And then, we'll see. I'm so tired and sick. I just don't. I'm having a hard time just getting instant stuff ready, honestly, for us to eat. But I'll talk about this one a little bit. This is, I think it's supposed to be bit by bit, but it's bit times bit. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Bit by bit. And they're talking about Bitcoin. And the funny thing is they're really pro Bitcoin in this, saying it's the future because it's this money that doesn't have any sort of, like, you don't have to exchange. There's no exchange between different countries' currency. It's all bit. So, but the thing is, okay, there's many things wrong with Bitcoin, and it's obvious. And anybody who doesn't see that it's obvious is, frankly, lying to themselves or other people. But
or both.
yeah.
Sometimes there's people just they know they've got an idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, anyway, say the inventor of Bitcoin has a Japanese name, but he is unknown. And one guy, he said he was rumored to be the creator of Bitcoin, and well, the system that they use to create it and transfer, whatever. But he said, no, this is not mine. I didn't do this, whatever. And I don't even think that Bitcoin was made by anybody who was Japanese. The name is just a fiction, and it makes me think, okay, well, it's definitely not Japanese because it's made to sound very Japanese, the inventor. So that makes me wonder, okay, well, who did really invent this? And yep, it's had a lot of problems with people hacking into it and making off with loads of it. And they say, well, that's with currency anywhere. This happens. People will, rob banks or whatever, right? And make off with.
Or they'll counterfeit.
Exactly. So they're saying, well, this is just, it's a currency. It's a currency form, and it's gonna have these same sort of problems as the currency form. Now, what they didn't mention is that really all banks now are digital. All of them are. If you think about it, you have online banking and whatever, and your information, you can transfer it, digitally. So your currency, whether it's in this form or any other, is subject to hacking, frankly. And so it doesn't make this any less dangerous. It just should make you think that, wow, we don't have money anymore. We really don't. And none of it is secure. None of it is. So how can I live in a way where I can make sure that I have a bowl of soup tomorrow or a whatever? And what kind of currency, what can I collect that will be exchangeable tomorrow, but not likely to be stolen or whatever? And that's really what we should be thinking about, not this. This is ridiculous. So anyway, that's my opinion on that.
So what exactly is Bitcoin? Can you explain it?
Well, it's just they used a different kind. I can't remember. I think it's like block something, some sort of a, I don't know.
Anyway, it's
system.
digitalized.
So yeah, so that they could. It's a different kind of system. So the money doesn't have any middleman. It just transfers. You can transfer it from one to another, one person to another directly.
So you cut the banks out.
Yes.
Basically. And the American Express or whatever.
Yes, exactly. So that's
Okay.
what you're doing. So instead, you're not paying fees. You're not paying any sort of user fees for, say, you could buy something from China just easily, or from wherever, and with your money, and you don't have to pay. Or they were saying, like, say you're a migrant sort of worker, and you're getting your paycheck and you're sending it back home. Well, if you're being paid in Bitcoin and it's going back home, there's no loss. You're not losing whatever it is. Is it 20% or whatever for, I don't know,
For what?
to transfer money from like Western Union or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know. So you're not losing that if you're exchanging money between different countries. If money is flowing globally, then there's less chance of loss. And they're also talking about MasterCards and stuff like that. You don't have those fees, because apparently if I go to some store and pay with MasterCard for something, then the store has to pay a fee to MasterCard for whatever the sale is. So it could be 20%, or it wouldn't be that high. It'd be like 2% or 5% or something like that.
If I were involved in banking industry, I'd be afraid, very afraid. Same sort of thing if I were involved in the credit card industry, I'd be afraid, very afraid. You know, I was checking out a article or something like that on the 24 jobs you don't want in the immediate future. And remember when we're looking at real estate on the internet, and we're going, why would anyone bother with real estate agents and their fees?
Yeah.
Especially considering the low ethics, scraping the bottom. I'm not going to mention the name because you won't want me to mention it. But it's probably any variety of names here in London. But they all seem to be, it would be like retail. They were saying, Bus Gonzo, Rapunzel. Why? Because they're cut out the middleman.
Sure.
Right? You go at Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Booking agents for travel agents. You can do that online now, right? Why would you bother? And there were other things that were a little bit different, like the publishing industry. Who cares? People don't read books. They don't read magazines. They don't read
They
papers.
don't anymore.
No,
Nobody reads,
like newspapers, they were saying, have gone down their revenues, whatever, 17 years in a row. You know, that's pretty well all of this millennium, right? And it shows no sign of turning around. So, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the newspapers, they had this monopoly on things, and there you go.
they use that monopoly pretty irresponsibly at times. So. Classic case is the cover-up of the Kennedy assassination. The conspiracies around it. There were several conspiracies. So they, they're still covering the newspapers, New York Times, Washington Post, on and on and on.
I'll get more water. You start talking about this active measures, because I know you're going to say a lot about it. So
I could.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. I'll wait for you to get.
No, you get. I was
okay.
watching it. I know where.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, required viewing. You've heard of required reading. Is required viewing. When was it put out? Probably pretty current. 2018. So last year. Unfortunately, it's still current. So it's about. You can see the not the Kremlin, St. Basil's Cathedral on Red Square there. And the Kremlin is right across from that. So it's really about the Kremlin and how it's pulling strings around the world, really, but particularly in the United States. And the one of those strings is a guy called Donald, or as I call him, Donald Dump. And so this has a variety of fairly important people as interviewees. Hillary Rodham Clinton, at one time important, I suppose. Podesta, what was the head of the Democratic National Convention? James Woolsey, former head of the CIA, on and on it goes. And I think they've kind of getting to the bottom of the hold that Putin has on Trump. And, it's kind of amazing that someone who's like the head of the United States would be so much in the pocket of a flunky like Putin. Putin commands a country that commands 1.6% of the world's economy. Well, that's amazing. It's like very, very weak economically. But Putin is very strong. He controls a lot of that economy. So they say he's the richest man in the world. I'd say he's the most powerful man in the world. And smell isn't everything, but no, I'm joking. He's very influential. He uses Russian mafia and oil and gas money very tactically in a very effective way. Now, like I've had people who are experts on the Soviet Union, one person I should say that, don't underestimate Putin. He's really bright. And I said, yes, he is. Like he's bright tactically, but not strategically. He's doing some amazing things. I think he'll preside over at least the beginning of the break apart of the Russian Empire. This is Putin's little empire now. After Yeltsin's interregnum is the third edition of the Russian Empire. Romanovs, the emperors and empresses, really too. And then the second edition was the communists, and now the third edition is Putin's combination of communism and Nazism. So he's a nationalist, but he uses communist means and methods and organizations. So it's a highly totalitarian state. It's not as totalitarian as, let's say, the Stalinist state, but he's still working at it. It's a work. What he's doing, I always call it now the Soviet Union Mark 2.0. It's still a work in progress, and believe me, it's really a work in regress. So I think they basically get down to it. It always was a little bit of a curious thing to me that Russia had this hold on Putin. They did touch on the idea that there are compromising tapes of Trump doing all sorts of deviant stuff while he was visiting Russia, and I don't think